What if I was to dip a cabochon into that? I'm really not sure about this. So I'm just going to dip that in there. Okay, I didn't think that part through, I just dropped it. Oh, are you ready? That is stunning. Right, we are back with another resin art experiment. Now, I want to see what happens when we add alcohol inks to clear PVA glue. So I don't know where this is going to go, but what I'm thinking, I've already pre-poured a very, very small amount into this old mold. You can see it's really shallow. It's probably about one millimeter, 2 maximum deep. So what I'm thinking is that if I could create like oh, I don't know. We're just going to see how it goes. You know what it's like. We do stuff and then sometimes it goes to plan and sometimes it just, I don't know, it goes a bit weird and we veer off into other directions. What I'm hoping is that we get a really colourful film. We let this dry once the alcohol inks have dried and the glue has dried. And maybe we can use that like a resin paper and bond it somehow to a clear resin cabochon. Now, we all know PVA glue and resin doesn't like to bond, so we're probably going to have some issues, but I'm sure we can work a way, a way around it. But first of all, we need to kind of see how the alcohol inks are going to react on the clear PVA glue. And of course, I'm just using the Let's Resin 26 ink set for this. I'm not going with any particular colours. I'm just going to drop them and just see what happens. So let's take you down. Now, I'm predicting it will react in a very similar way as it does to resin, which it is. It's not spreading as much, but it's reacting in a very similar way. Let's go in with some yellow, like so. So what I'll probably do as well is just swirl it around and just try and get some kind of pattern in there. Let's go with a magenta. Let's go near the blue because the blue and the magenta. Let me lock my focus, that would help. Feels like it's been a while, guys. I'm sorry I've been a little bit quiet. Things have been a little bit hectic. Mrs. Cooper's foot is healing up quite nicely. Not 100%, but she's better. Right, purplish red. I don't know whether to add a sinker to this. I haven't got that far with thinking. I think I might just see how the colours go on their own. Let's try sapphire blue. It's a really nice blue. Bit of orange. I'm not even worried if the colours clash and muddy. I just want to see if the concept works for now. So that's taken over. You see it's muddied there. See it's taken over quite a bit of the PVA space. So I'm just going to give that a minute just to settle down and stop dancing around. I don't think it is dancing around. It doesn't look like it. Okay, what I'm going to do now is just begin to stir this just in a random pattern. So it's behaving very similar to how it would on the surface of resin. A really nice pattern there. I don't know if to go the other way as well. What do you think? Oh, I don't know. I quite like it. I'm gonna just do it. I'm gonna go this way as well. This reminds me of what's that technique called where they put acrylic paints on like a thickened water. That is really nice. So it's kind of it's behaving a little bit differently to resin. But there's a really nice pattern. So I want to stick my finger in it. Now we just let that dry and hopefully we can peel that out, and then I might try again with a sinker white. I don't know, to see if we can actually get a petri in the PVA glue. But yeah, I wonder what would happen if I was to, because I just mentioned about this reminding me of like a dipping technique. What's it? Hydro dipping. I don't know whether this is going to work. So what I'm thinking now is, what if I was to dip a cabochon into that, and then would it stick to the back? I've just had a minute to think about it. I'm sitting here staring at it because I really like the pattern. I don't want to mess it up. But then that part of my brain is thinking, just do it, Dan. Because you can just do that pattern again. It was sideways and then just the other way again. So what I'm going to do is stop talking and thinking. I'm just going to go ahead and divert into trying to dip into this just to see what happens. Okay, I'm just going to fill up this oval cavity with some UV resin and cure that. I've just got some black card under there so I can see any bubbles that I don't want. So I'm just going to fill it to the top, give it a couple of minutes under the lamp, and then we'll see what happens. So that is now cured. We can pop that out. I'm just going to let that cool down for a minute. Okay, I'm really not sure about this. I don't want to do it, but I do want to do it because you don't know unless you try, do you? So, but I don't know where to go or how to position it. Do I want the pattern going that way, or do I want the pattern going through the middle? I think I'm just overthinking it at this stage. So I'm just going to dip that in there, and hopefully I can lift it out. I should have kept my gloves on. Can you see that though? That's kept the pattern. If I lift that out now, okay, I didn't think that part through, I just dropped it. Okay, I'm gonna have to let it go. Oh, should have kept my glove on. Aha, I wonder if I could use, these are hole makers from little windows. Got like little suction caps on. These are for making, I don't want to push it down. These are for making holes in resin. Please work. I think I've lost the pattern though. I don't know. Okay, I'm just gonna flip that upside down and then I think I'm gonna have to just let that dry. I don't know how long it's gonna take, but we'll find out, won't we? But it is going to be a little bit hard to dry that with the suction cap still on the back. So let's just see what happens with that. No, I should have kept these on. I can see some drips just going around the sides. I'm just going to carefully, without touching the back, just try and take some of these off. But if it does work, at least I know for next time to use the hole makers. Sorry for the wobble. To just dip straight away without having to get my fingers in there and get them messy. And I'm going to put that to one side. I suppose with this, I could let this dry and continue the original experiment and just see how that comes out. Like can we peel that out and then say bond it to the back? But I don't know where this is going to go. So it's only been a couple of minutes. I just want to do a little bit of poking because I want to see if the alcohol has kind of, if it's still loose, if that makes sense, if it can still be manipulated under the layer of PVA that's now there. I don't want to touch it at the same time, but I do want to know if it's kind of clung. It doesn't look like it has. So I'm going to leave it. I'm just going to let it dry. And with this one, I am going to go ahead and add some of my Sinker White just to see if it's possible to get a PVA glue petri effect. Of course, this will only work with clear PVA glue because the white will just be too opaque. You wouldn't see it from the other side. So I'm hoping we'll get a really nice, I don't know how long that's going to take to dry though, guys. It could take days. I don't know. I could speed it up, I suppose, on a heat mat. I could do that. It's an option, but I'm just going to leave it and see what, or do I stir it? Shall I stir what's left in there? I mean, there's not going to be the hour wait that we'd normally do a stir with our resin. Let's just give that a stir also. As always, massive shout out to my channel members, anyone who's bought me a coffee, you're a super thanks, and to all of our subscribers. Thank you very much. If you haven't subbed, it's free. Hit that button. Now going back to the cabochon, it has only been 5 minutes and it's already beginning to dry around the edges, but in the middle, because it's slightly deeper, it's still wet. But around the edges, I think where the cabochon was still a little bit warm, it has sped up the drying process, which is good. I was expecting to have to wait until at least tomorrow. Oh, it's one of them days. Yeah, so I checked on it. It's pretty much dry. It's not dry enough for me to do a final layer, but it's a good job I checked, because obviously I either hit the wrong button on my lamp and it didn't cure. So where I put the suction, this thing on, the hole maker, my resin was too soft. So we all make mistakes. And where I dropped it anyway, the colours, the pattern's just not there. So I'm going to give it another couple of tries. And yeah, but that's taken about an hour and a half. And again, it's pretty much there. It's just an area in the middle that's just too wet to be able to cover that with UV resin. So, but I'm pretty confident that I could do this. I could kind of seal this in without an issue of the resin peeling away. If I have to dip it, I have to dip it. It's just such a shame that I A, dropped it, and then B, this. So I could always salvage it, but I'm not happy with the pattern anyway. So we carry on. And here we go, trying to rectify my previous mistake by trying again. This is why I love experimenting, guys. If you've got a gut feeling, just go ahead with it, as long as it's safe. Don't go doing anything too dangerous. But you can see with this one, I go in with 2 patterns in the same ink drop. So you can do this multiple times. It really is quite unique, and I absolutely love this. Okay, so it is now the next day, and I'm super happy with how these 2 here have turned out. They're fully dry, but what I want to try now is white PVA glue, not clear. I mean, white PVA glue kind of has a transparency to it anyway, but I just want to see if there's any difference. So yeah, thinking about it last night, I think I need to try it, because it's probably going to be a big question in the comments, is could you do this with white PVA glue? And I think white PVA glue is a lot cheaper than the big Elmer's clear that I've got. So yeah, I think we need to try it. But look at that. I mean, I still need to play around with backings on this, but I'm just hoping, I'm kind of jumping into this without even proceeding to the next stage. But like I said, I am 100% confident I can make this work. I might have to give it the edges a bit of a clean up where I dipped it. Some of the PVA could be an issue stuck to the edges. So yeah, I'm going to the shop. Okay, I just ran to the shop and I got some white PVA glue, so let's try the dipping with that. Okay, so these ones turn out absolutely stunning. I'm going in with coffee and then adding yellow to the coffee. Yellow at the top and bottom, and then some red, and then yellow again in the middle. And I am absolutely loving these pieces. Obviously, this is a voiceover part, so I know how these turn out, but this one is incredible. So I'm just dipping it the same way. And I'm definitely noticing the difference with the white PVA glue, but you can stir this and just keep going. I mean, the alcohol ink remains on the PVA glue. So you can see me here using the same inks that I've already done to transfer onto another cabochon. And then just to show you again, you can just stir it and just keep using that alcohol ink on the surface until it's gone, and you can add more to it if you want. It's entirely up to you. It's so cool. Okay, so I've just done these like literally a few minutes ago. Again, my resin was quite warm when I dipped them, but it's drying so much quicker than the clear did, and the patterns are phenomenal. Absolutely stunning pieces. So yeah, I'm super excited with this. This is something brand new. I just hope the next stage goes okay. But yeah, I'm definitely preferring the white PVA over the clear. I'm glad I went to get that from the shop. So 2 became 4. So the white PVA glue ones are now fully dried. It took about 2.5 hours. Again, the middle just took a little bit longer. But on this one, the middle dried a bit quicker. So it's got a kind of an area. This is the first one that I dipped. It's got an area. It's almost like scales in there. It's very, very different. The pattern's not very prominent, but I suppose with a backing, we could bring that out. I don't know. But this one, this is phenomenal. No, this was the first one. This was the second one, sorry. That is incredible. Absolutely stunning. The texture, the color. Okay, there's not so much of a pattern, but we now need to proceed. And what I'm going to do with the first one that I made, that kind of, I'm hitting the camera again. With this one, I want to test to see how well the actual PVA and alcohol ink. Let's see, look, we do need to seal this in. But how close to the edge is it? It's all the way to the edge, but it's so thin that I think we could easily encapsulate this by dipping it. But I want to see if it's actually transferred to the cabochon. If I peel the glue away, I doubt it, because the PVA was wet and the resin was dry. Has it? So it kind of has a little bit. Not enough to be able to do anything with it. So some of it has kind of stuck to the cabochon. But this is what I wanted. This is originally what I wanted. A kind of film that we could play around with. I mean, that is, we could do something with it, but I think we've veered off now into a different direction, haven't we? So I left the petri experiment on the radiator, and it dried really quick, and it's kind of crinkled up and pulled away from the mold. It's kind of there, but what we could do, again, I was thinking about this last night, kind of predetermining that it was going to work, and it kind of has. Not so much of a, there's not really spores as such, but if we could get this to work, what we could do with something like this is cut it, for instance, into strips. I'm not going to do this very precisely, and again, it is going to need to be backed. But I think what we could do, if I can crack this, is get a style of petri that would work inside an inlay ring. So because it's so thin, we could really tuck that into that inlay area, maybe super glue it down or UV resin bond it. I'm not going to do it now, I might save that for another video. And then we're left with this edge on both sides, so that when it comes to topping it up with resin, the resin will bond nicely to the metal, in theory. But again, my brain's veering off. How stunning would that be as a ring though? I'll save that for another video, guys. If you want it, hit the comments and sub. Thinking about it, you probably wouldn't even need to back it. It's probably good to go as it is. You could actually do this without a separate video, but I could play around with different ideas with it for sure. But yeah, we've kind of unlocked a couple of things here. Right, let's stop waffling. Okay, we've got a job to do and we need to finish these off. And I'm hooked, already hooked. I've only done a few and I'm hooked. I'm going to start with this one. What I'm thinking is because I can see some PVA glue that's come over the sides. If I go trying to peel that away, we're at risk of that being kind of joined to the whole film on the back. So do you see what I mean? If I was to peel that, it's going to peel away from the back. So what I'm thinking, if I take my scissors and I just give the very sharp edge a score or a scrape all the way around, that should separate any on the sides from the back. Hope I'm making sense. So I can now peel away anything that's on the side without worrying that it's going to peel the back off. You can see a bit there. If I can get that. Yeah, see, that's separated now from the back layer. Really, really simple and easy. And actually quite satisfying. That's much better. So with this one, what I'm going to do is just give it a white background and then dip it. Because if I dip it now, and if I bond my stick to the back of the PVA glue, when it comes to taking the stick away, it's going to pull the PVA glue away from the cabochon. So I need to reinforce that backing. This is what my brain's telling me anyway, from previous experience with using different backings like vinyls. We need to reinforce that with a thin coat of UV resin. I'm hoping the white will pop the colours, but I could keep it clear. I could just back that with a clear, then bond my stick to the clear and dip it. But first of all, because I'm dipping it, we need to sand this down. Otherwise, when we dip it, the resin is at risk of separating on the surface and not giving us a perfect finish. Okay, that is sanded. Sanding? That is sanded. And I was just careful going around the edges because I don't want to catch that thin, very thin layer of PVA glue. I suppose I could have backed it first and then sanded it to give it a bit of added protection, but I just did it that way. It's still fairly new, so let's back it. I really don't like decisions like this because I can hear some of you shouting at me, telling me not to back this with a white, but to back it with clear. But I think I'm going to play around with some others, so you will see some clear. I don't want it to go wrong. So just going to pop some of my clear UV resin in this mixing cup. Then I'm going to add a tiny amount of my homemade white pigment paste. Really don't need much of this stuff. And just thoroughly mix that in. Don't want it too strong, otherwise it's not going to cure under the light. And just cover the back all the way to the sides. If I have to go on twice, I will. But you can see some of that colour showing through the whites. So I know my lamp is going to cure that perfectly fine. Sorry if I'm repeating myself to my regular channel viewers. I have to say these steps for anyone that's new. So that has had 2 coats of the white. You'll see around the edge that it's pretty clear still. It's because the PVA and the resin don't like each other. So I wouldn't trust just doing a backing on this. I think it could still peel away. We do need to dip it, which is going to kind of hold everything in place. By all means, try it and see it, but I don't want to ruin this piece by trying to see if I can peel that backing off. But personally, I wouldn't trust it. Out comes my dipping pot. As most of you know already, inside this is just clear UV resin, the same UV resin that I've used the entirety of the video, which is the UV resin from Let's Resin Clear Hard Type. I just pour mine in there. It's in a black pot, solid black pot, so any light cannot cure the resin inside the pot. And I'm just going to pop my lamp to the side here, so when I've dipped it, I can quickly take the dipped resin inside my lamp and turn it as it's curing. I'm going to take my stick, dip it in the pot, hold it on the back. Using my flashlight, I'm just going to cure the stick in place, like so. And then I'll add a drop over the back just to reinforce it, so it's not going to fall off. There we go, ready to go. I do love doing this part. It's something so set. Look, just a touch. You can see that colour coming through. This is where the magic happens. I love dipping. Right, I'm going to let the excess drip off and then we'll turn it. Okay. Are you ready? That is stunning. So I'm just going to hold that, let that drip off, and then turn it under my lamp. I'm super happy that I backed that. That is incredible. So I normally hold mine there for about 45 seconds to a minute. If your resin, if it's still covered in resin and you turn it too soon under your lamp, what's going to happen is these drips that are forming as it's curing are going to ripple and it's going to leave a horrible texture. So drip off as much excess as you can. Okay, I think this is the last drip. So I'm going to pull my mask down and then take it to the lamp. Come on, there you go. So now I'm just going to keep turning that. I'm multitasking now because I'm going to pull my mask down over my face. And turn on my lamp while still turning it, and then take it under and just keep turning it underneath for about a minute. And once it's cured, touch the back, don't touch the front. If it's sticky, you pop it as it is in a cup of water, just normal water, and put it back under your lamp for 1 minute, and that will remove any stickiness of your resin. So that has turned out absolutely incredible. I'm so happy with that. And the sides, perfectly fine. I can't see that peeling away from there at all. It's completely encapsulated and wrapped around the whole thing now. So once you're happy, you can then just twist off your stick. I went a bit far with the resin on mine. But then you'd need to just file off that excess flat and just give it a tiny thin coat of UV resin to hide that. But then you drill through there anyway, so it's going to be hidden by, say, a bale that you'd mount on there. But that is incredible. And I think just really quickly, I'm not going to show you the whole process. With this one, I'm going to do the same. Score, take off the excess. I'm going to give this a very thin coat of clear, and then I'm going to dust it with a gold. And just see a gold nail powder, and just see how a gold mica powder would work, and just see how that one comes out. Okay, I think this one could be even better than the other one that we just dipped. I don't know. Let's see. That. That's incredible. Look at the way that gold's popping through. It's like lava. This reminds me of like the dark areas you've got. Oh no, I stuck my finger on it. I'm going to have to dip it again now. But it looks like lava flow down the side of a mountain with fire at the top. That's incredible. Okay, last one, I promise. I've done something very different. I've never tried this before. So I'm hoping this one really, really does come to life once we've dipped it. Let's see. You see that purple coming through. It might look better in different lights. See it just shining through there, through the middle. I'll tell you how I did that in a moment. That is incredible. You'll be glad to know we are all done. We'll start with obviously try and do it in order if I can remember rightly. So these were using the clear glue. But this one with the golden purple is phenomenal. The colour from the pattern isn't really there, but you do have the pattern distinction, if that makes sense. So I think it's going to be a case of, it is new, we are going to have to play around with it. Don't go just putting a black background on these, because you can see I haven't finished these. It's just going to drown the colour out. By using a nail powder and then a black and white, but I'll show you a piece that I did with some black. But if you have made it to the end of the video without skipping through, I know there are some naughty ones out there who skip through just to see the results and then they leave a comment within 2 minutes of me posting the video. Please don't do that. It kills the channel. For those who always watch all the way through, thank you very, very much. You're helping the channel grow and you are supporting me in the most amazing way you can. So this was the other one that we did with the colours. This was just a white background. Really, really loving the strength of the colours in these, especially that one. So safe white background. Really, really. I've taken the bail off that for another piece. It is phenomenal. I filmed it for a different platform. You'll see it on my Reels and my other video platform that YouTube doesn't like me saying. But you'll see the making of that one. It's a showstopper. This one is gorgeous. Again, it's got that volcanic look. I don't know what you're seeing, but that's what I'm seeing. Now this one I did with a gold and then a black background. It's very dark, but it does flash really nicely. And I'm loving the simplicity of this. It's just PVA glue and alcohol inks. We've all got that stuff, I think. You haven't got to go and buy, acrylics. I'd like to see if acrylics would work with the PVA glue and how different it would be. But yeah, I think this is something new and exciting to play around with for sure. But as always, give the video a thumbs up, drop me a comment. If you haven't subbed, hit that button for me. Again, it is free. This one went a little bit weird. So what I tried to do is I tried to speed up the glue drying with some heat. And what that's done is any micro bubbles will expand with heat. So it's pulled the PVA slightly away from the cabochon. It's not the greatest of finishes either, but I was just rushing this one. And what I also did with this one, I didn't allow the alcohol inks to evaporate enough. So I quickly added my inks, quickly stirred it, and then did the transfer. Now, what happened with that also is it stayed liquid form underneath the film of PVA glue as it was drying. So that was another reason why it kind of did this popping. So, but you shouldn't really use heat around alcohol inks anyway. So it was just me being stupid and playing around and rushing it. So no heat. This one I wasn't too keen on. I kept this one clear, but I did back it with a gold. I'm not too sure. It's just, again, I tried to speed that one up. It's kind of moved away from the cabochon, but yeah, I've had to experiment quite a bit with it. This one, I need to polish it up. Again with a gold nail powder and a white background. I do need to give that a bit of a polish, but this one is absolutely insane. I'm loving this. So this was using a blue, had coffee in the sides I think, and dropped a yellow onto the coffee, and there was a red at the top. But that is, again, I need to polish this one up. So I went on the back of this one with a blue nail powder and then a gold at the top. So yeah, that's what I did differently with this one, is I added a purple around the purple alcohol ink colours and then a gold at the top and the bottom, which gives that really nice purple flash through the centre. So yeah, I mean, I'm hooked. I am hooked. So it takes a couple of hours for the glue to dry. I think you could speed it up on a heat mat. That would definitely work. I mean, this worked on the radiator, but then I did leave it overnight, so I wasn't quite sure how long it took. But even this in itself, the potential for, like I showed you, cutting this down and using it in a ring, and it's flexible. It's super flexible. It won't snap. It's easy to cut. I think just this alone is crazy. Crazy new things going on here. So yeah, sorry if it's a bit longer than usual, but you know what it's like. We kind of start with something, like I said at the beginning. Yeah, and sometimes it just veers off, but we did test both theories. Making a paper form version with alcohol inks that we can do stuff with very, very differently. And we also tested the urge I had to dip it. And I'm glad I went through with it. I'm glad I tried it, because these are phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Right, enough waffling. I will see you for the next one. Bye for now.